Warning.
Watch very closely now. 3, 2, 1. Bzow! Check that out.
The following podcast features terrible jokes.
You know you can use Hot Wheels cars when you need to make a saving throw in D&D? Every car is die-cast.
Usually about board games.
We want the fun. Gotta have that fun.
Must insist that no one attempt to recreate any joke performed on this podcast.
We had less technical issues than $1 million company.
All right!
This is Boards and Swords.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Boards and Swords. This is a podcast featuring bad jokes, good folks, and some tabletop games. Who am I? I'm one of your hosts. My name's Chris Renshaw, and I'm going to send it to that screen where we can see my lovely co-host, Mr. Philip Herberg.
Somebody thinks I'm lovely.
Yep.
Yay! What's going on, everybody? Welcome to Monday night, January 20th, 2025. It's 2025, Chris.
I know.
I finally, it took me until like Friday to stop writing December or 2024.
I've realized I don't write the year much anymore. You know when I do the most markings of the year? When I put the ID3 tags on the podcast and I put the year in there. So once every 2 weeks.
Yeah, no, I gotta put dates on a lot of forms at work. So
yeah, see, it's not like school where it's not like school where I was dating
DEC crap JAN.
I was dating my homework,
really
you know,
thick.
like because I've gotten to the point at work I don't use I've just switched to just doing like OneNote. So I'll just hit new note and then it'll date it.
Automatically puts a date up there
exactly.
for you. Yeah.
But yeah, we got a lot going on this episode. We're gonna give you the news here in a minute. I'm gonna go ahead and warn you. Interview was a little long, but I like it that way. So I sat down with Bostria, one of the people over at Corvus Belli who does the Infinity War game, and we got to talking about that game and a bunch of other stuff. Reminded me, it was really funny because back in the day, pre Philip on Boards and Swords, when I would do interviews, I always because I was at the time listening to the Nerdist, and they would always like jump in mid conversation with the interviews. Like they would do like a little intro, and then like the conversation would already be starting, and that's kind of the way this interview's gonna go, because we started talking, and then it's like, no, I want this in I want this in the show. So it's like, I'm just going to keep this in. Cool. So, but we'll get about to that. First, we got some news.
News.
All right. If you killed a bard, would you then be looting the body? So, Loot is a diceless RPG with a classic D&D feel. This is just I love when these little weird, quirky games. You know, it's like that duck one that we found. You got it recently, didn't you?
I did.
What was it
One
called?
honk before midnight.
One honk before
One
midnight?
honk before midnight.
One honk
Yep.
before. Okay. I always like when I see a news post highlighting some new or just random thing. While big names are trying to vie for the Dragon's Hoard, Loot by Gila RPGs has found its own unique way to evoke that classic D&D experience. While most people think of D&D, they think of two things: rolling dice and going on epic adventures. The three pillars of D&D, exploration, social interaction, and combat, are often said to be... Okay, this is going on a little bit too much. Here we go.
Yeah.
Loot shows you can have all that without ever rolling a single die. Spencer Campbell of Gila RPGs is known for making games inspired by video games. His most recent game, Loot, is set in a city that has just toppled its former lich overlord, and its vast supply of wealth is now free for the taking. But the people have been left to fend off the creatures and factions who've come to fill the power vacuum and claim the city as their own. Players act as freelancers, adventurers who've come to the city on the promise that they will fend off these combating factions in exchange for unimaginable loot. The two main phases of play: exploration and combat. During exploration, players venture through forests city streets, and of course dungeons. During combat, the game master breaks out a 6x6 grid for turn-based combat. Pretty standard affair, but instead of relying on skills and dice, players have resources they have to manage that offer them 3 ways to solve problems: force, flow, and focus. Every player starts off with 1 available slot for each approach, increasing depending on the loot that they have equipped. Every time a player confronts a challenge or an obstacle in or out of combat, the GM will ask the PC to use and mark off a corresponding approach point. There's no option for failure here, which some players may find odd. Rather, the consequences for resource management reflect how severe the complications are that will rise from the challenge. So, print copies of the game would be available at the end of January. A PDF of the game is available now at the Gila RPG itch.io store for $20.
According to their itch.io store, printed copies are available now.
Oh. Well, this was probably done before that was. Well, you know what? The statement still holds. Print copies will be available at the end of January.
That's right. Yes.
And we are also past the midway point, so I don't know when you consider the end of January. We're in the last third.
We are, the last third.
Sorry, cat jumped in my lap.
Do it in tens.
Yeah. So, yeah, I don't know, man. There's no dice. So, I don't know how I feel about this.
I know, like you'll freak out, man.
But I kind of understand what it's like. It's almost like board game mechanics in an RPG, where it's like, I got so many of these points, I need to spend them or save them for when they matter, and use something else when I don't care as much about the benefit. It's like I've seen other RPG. I don't remember where I saw this, but there was an RPG where you pre-rolled all your skill checks. So before the game starts, you roll like 20 dice, and you take all the numbers and write them down, and then you choose but you're not getting any more until all of those are gone. So it's like, you got to decide, like, is this where I can stand to fail, or is this where, like,
yeah, like,
like I gotta use this 4 in there somewhere.
Screw that! I gotta use this 1 somewhere.
Yeah, that too. Well, yeah, but the 1 you can always do on like a, when it's funny. The 4 is always like
exactly, yeah. The 4 is like, shit, I'm the last one standing, and we're about to wipe.
Actually, that's not true.
Damn it.
That's an initiative score. That's like, I'm going to use this 4.
Who takes improved initiative?
I'm going to use this 4 for my initiative. No, you got to know when to roll them, know when to hold them.
Exactly.
So, actually, I may have to do that. That might have to be. I might have to do an RPG about that, or at least. I don't know where I saw it, but I may have to use that mechanic in like a micro RPG. So, all right, moving on. There's a lot of TCGs these days. Apparently, the magic behind them is gathering. Hold on a sec. Mouth is like super dry. Stupid sinuses. I got water.
This is 100 ounces, son.
Okay. I don't have desk space for that.
We'll get you a Camelback.
Just see I have another cord running across.
Yep, just a little tube right there. And you'll be looking at the camera and you'll be like, come on, damn it.
Then I got to do like the tongue thing. I was like, trying to find it. So I thought
comedy sketch.
So I thought this article was cool just because. So we've done the TCG players trends before, but I thought this was interesting specifically because I've become more what's the word I want to say, obsessed with TCGs recently. Okay. And so we've got the charts here. This kind of breaks into things. Talks about because there are a lot of TCGs out there now. Like there's always been a lot of TCGs, But there's a lot of TCGs doing well right now. Like, people are finding their niche.
Mm-hmm.
So, in overall, they say the TCG market was fairly stable at the top in 2024, and then a little turbulent towards the middle. In the top tier products, you got your always like Magic the Gathering, Yu-Gi-Oh. We talked about why One Piece can also be up there sometimes. Pokemon had a rough 2024, but at the very end of the year went parabolic and started selling like mad thanks to the popular surging sparks. I have a feeling that that's going to also be the case with the first one. Have you heard about the new Pokemon set?
No.
So the new Pokemon set is all about EV. It's like people have been calling. I don't know what it's actually. It's like prismatic evolutions, but they're calling it like evolutions.
Oh. Okay. That's
But they
where all the
limited it.
prismatic
They
stuff-
they printed either. They say they were only able to print a small amount, but I think they did it on purpose. But like stores weren't getting that much, and so this stuff is getting market sold through the roof.
Mhm.
To the point like, so Friday was my day off, and I was driving to Chick-fil-A to go get breakfast, and I passed Best Buy, and there was a line waiting outside the door at Best Buy, or not Best Buy, GameStop. And I was like, when was
GameStop,
the
yeah.
last time you saw a line? Like, it reminded me of like the midnight release of like StarCraft 2.
Right? We're talking. We haven't seen those kind of lines in like what, 15, 20 years?
Yeah, exactly. I was like, what? I'm sitting there thinking, like, what game is being released? And then I remembered the game store was talking about how the new Pokemon set was coming in because people were wanting to get in early and like, no, you got to wait till tomorrow to get it. And so I was like, oh, they're waiting for the Pokemon release. So, but yeah, all of that just to say that this new set has gone gangbusters and all sorts of fiend. There was like 10 more articles I could have put in here all about just that set alone. So, Disney's Lorcana was having a great year up until the fall, where it ran into trouble. This general weakening of Disney Lorcana can be mostly attributed to the new TCG smell wearing off and TCG flippers heading out for different waters to seek profit. So, kind of hitting that point where the newness is starting to rub off. It's now been in 2 Gen Cons, and I have seen that. There are some people at our store that play, but it is kind of like. But I tell you what, you can get that shit everywhere.
Okay. Yeah.
Like, it's in Walmart, it's in Target, everywhere. But I know there's the new hotness. If you want to talk about like the new hotness in TCGs, is this game called Altered. So it's an Asmodee game. It's published by one of the other like European publishers that Asmodee owns.
Gotcha.
But it's like each card has like a QR code, so you can scan it and get it digitally or whatever.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, I don't know much about it other than that. Although I do know it's on Board Game Arena, so you can like play it for free to try it out. But it's been making waves at our local store recently. But rounding out the top tier, Star Wars Unlimited continued gaining traction throughout the years, looking to gain momentum going into 2025. That's good to know because basically around where we are, nobody's playing anymore because when it came out was when our store closed.
Mm-hmm.
So then when the new store came in, there was like only like 1 or 2 people interested in it, so they've just not been carrying it. So there's no. But I know other places like Games and Stuff has a weekly Star Wars Unlimited night. That I know people that have gone up there for that. So then, that also I've like Flesh and Blood. They're talking about like the middle tier stuff. But here's the kind of cool thing I wanted to look at. One clear trend that started in 2024 that's ongoing in the middle tier of the TCG market: battle over anime, Japanese IP, TCG supremacy in the North American markets. We've talked about this on the show. We saw it at PAX Unplugged. There was that Universus system.
Yep.
Where I forgot they had something because they had like They had they also had like an American show in there somewhere, I think, if I remember right. But UVS Games has that's the one that the universes with the Godzilla Attack on Titan sets.
Ninja Turtles.
Ninja Turtles. You're right. That's what it was. Solo Leveling, Guilty Gear, Bandai. They dropped the Union Arena we talked about last time with the Full Metal Alchemist. They announced the Gundam TCG. And then Bushiroad has we've mentioned Weiss Schwarz before. They've got like Macross Delta, JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, and more. But
our first Gen Con,
Mhm.
I got cards to Weiss Schwarz.
Really?
Yeah. When we were running around with our hour of free time or early time. Yeah, one of the packs I got from with the coupon was like a couple of cards to that. Yeah.
Nice. You don't see that nowadays. Other than Flesh and Blood did that this year, but that's interesting. I knew it had been around a while, but I didn't know that long. But yeah, so you've got the weird part is like a lot of these companies have, and I think we mentioned this last, where it's like we're just going to make a generic rule set, and then we'll just print sets for different anime on top of those, and it kind of works in a sense because if you drill into the rules for these most of the time, you can't cross build. So like,
right.
If you're going to have an Attack on Titan deck, you can only use cards from the Attack on Titan set. Like, you can't then just have, like, cards from all these others. So they don't have to balance. You don't have to worry as much about, like, power creep so much when you're balancing this set versus that set, other than, like, playing the decks against each other. But you don't have to worry about this combo is going to get matched up with that combo that we printed in that anime set. So it's kind of it's a neat approach to that. But like they mentioned in here, by doing that, you hit the markets for that anime in addition to like your TCG fan base.
Yes.
So you know, it's not like it doesn't have to do extremely well to be profitable. It just has to do well enough with the TCG crowd, and then grab that other market of the anime fans that want to see their characters, and it's big enough. And then if it is big enough to spawn out, you know, like the Gundam, and you got One Piece, Digimon's another one that does this. You know, technically you could qualify. I mean, Yu-Gi-Oh! And Pokemon are technically this as well.
Yes.
So really, I mean, if you look at the big, like, it's pretty much Magic the Gathering and then a bunch of anime. And then, I mean, because technically, Lorcana, that's just American anime, basically, right? So you can kind of... So really, TCGs are just mostly about anime, is what I'm learning here.
Mostly.
And then Magic the Gathering.
And then I was going to say Magic. I was like, what? Oh, that's a Google search.
But then again, Magic the Gathering has been dabbling in all these other sets as well. So they've kind of taken that trend as well. They got a Final Fantasy set coming out later this year. So I haven't done any oh no, I can't even say that. They've done some secret layers that have done some anime stuff. So I can't even say that they haven't done an anime set yet.
Yeah. According to the AI overview on Google, Magic the Gathering is regarded as the very first trading card game.
Yeah. Magic
back in
created
93.
the Magic created the category.
Yes.
No news on
now,
Bamboo's
just trading cards were printed in Europe in the 1670s.
Well, yeah, because
no
Nintendo was technically started in the 1800s as a playing card company.
That's right.
Fun fact. No news on Bamboo's recent firmware update controversy. I don't know if that's is that news worth discussing. Also, it's a 3D printer. So the TCGs have been doing well, or MTG or anime IP tie-ins. No, I'm just saying TCGs in general are pretty much either Magic the Gathering or anime IP tie-ins. So, I'm kind of for it because then you get all these weird, like, you know, I don't think we would have gotten a Gundam TCG
Right. If yeah.
if this trend. Plus, I'm all for it because it means that, like I said, that favorite anime that you know, like, it's only a matter of time before we get Cowboy Bebop in one of these.
Right.
Like,
Cowboy Bebop, Death Note.
Yeah, like, I don't think it's like Death Note. You could probably do a whole game on, but like Cowboy Bebop,
Yeah.
people have done whole games on, but that is not worth holding a whole TCG about. But it's easy to like drop that on Union Arena or whoever's gonna get it. So, speaking of which, Philip, we're gonna have to table this anime discussion for the bonus bits because I have a lot to talk about there.
Okay. All right.
So, all right, that was a lot, and we're only on Article 2. When someone brings you alcohol, is it considered delivery? Did you have to think about that one?
I did. I was like, which one? I should have gone with the other one, but that's fine.
I can do it too.
I should have gone with air horn.
So speaking of, this was the Pokemon story I decided to do instead of talking about the new set, because
Okay.
this one's a lot more fun to talk about.
It is.
You can now get Pokemon cards on takeout apps now. Let me put in this Wargamer article.
Is this exclusive to? I'm gonna.
Well, let's find out.
Yeah.
All right, let's see. It may sound silly, may sound completely, utterly bizarre. Why should you go hungry and instead decide to pick up some of the best Pokemon packs over food? Where are we going to? I was trying to get to the actual part. On the Pokemon Deals UK subreddit, many people have been using Uber Eats promotions to get Pokemon packs at a lower price. Is this a wait? That's interesting. I didn't realize. You can get them for cheaper.
You remember we were talking about something earlier? If you scroll down, there's an ad for it right there in the middle of this article.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, Firefox blocks them out. That's why I'm not seeing it.
Oh, it's for misplay.
Okay.
You'll see the wording.
Gotta dash them off. Is it a weird way of getting cards? Undoubtedly. Is it unbelievably satisfying? Absolutely. Don't worry that it's a UK subreddit either. You can get them in the US too. One downside, of course, that you get Mons instead of meals. Swapping your weekly KFC for a freshly delivered serving of Kentucky Fried cards may fill your binder, but it won't fill your belly. Also, frying cards is terrible for the resale value. Don't fry your cards and don't eat them. So, yeah. So here's the thing. Is it a deal if you're going to have to pay the surcharge to get them delivered, though?
You got to pay the surcharge. You got to pay the tip. You got to pay all that
Unless
stuff,
it's like a limited time promo thing.
Yeah.
In which case, jump on it now while you can.
Uh-huh.
But I'm like...
if you scroll down a little further, it's like, instead of just doing Uber Eats, do misplay first. And that way...
Okay, there you go. That's what you could do. Oh, it is a word. There's the misplay thing we were talking about.
Yeah, it's like you use misplay to get Uber Eats vouchers.
That's
and
why
then order your Pokemon
That's why they
cards.
didn't block it. Is because it's actually embedded in the article. It's not like an auto-generated ad.
Oh man.
So yeah, now you can play games and use them to get Uber Eats cards to then use for Pokemon cards.
This is okay. I won't say not the Pokemon card specifically, but there have been stuff in DoorDash, Grubhub, Uber Eats of like, hey, I ordered my food, and it a little thing pops up on the tracking of your delivery.
Yeah,
and it's like, hey, if you want to add something extra, we'll do it for no additional charge.
So, funnily enough, that we come back to talking about the misplay. The app that I used, I forgot what it was called again, but we'll just say it's misplay for the purpose of this.
There you go.
Like I said, it was random apps. It wasn't just games. And one of the promotions was DoorDash. And it was like if you did so many orders within so much time, you got like $100. So I did DoorDash for a while. And this happened to me where it was like I went to like
Which way?
like delivering the food.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah, like if you went like I did Uber for one of them. You know, like I
Okay.
it was like you just had to do one
Pick up and drop off.
pick up and drop. I was gonna say chauffeur, to get the credit, and that was basically it. Which was good because that one ride, like I did it once, and I was like, "This is awkward as hell. I am not doing this again."
You just had like one of us do it.
Well, yeah, fair. But a part of me was like, is this worth doing on a regular basis for like, let me get that side money going for like, I got minis to buy kind of thing. So, but I did do a DoorDash once where it was like I went to a local Mexican restaurant, picked this up, and then it's like, oh, go to 7-Eleven, buy a 12-pack of sodas, and that is now also with and they give you like a generic bank card that like only it's like your work travel card, like they only authorize it when you actually have to go somewhere and use it. So
Okay.
you have it, you go to the store and swipe that, so you're not using your own money or anything.
Oh, that's good.
And then it's auto-tabulated. That's what I think that I could see if you could do that to where like I can order me some Taco Bell, but hey, since you're going to be right there, the game store's right there, buy me a pack of Pokemon cards. And, I'm already paying the delivery fee. So like the cost of the card, I'm not paying maybe I'm paying like 50 cents more for the extra 30 seconds he took to get the person took to get inside, but
yeah,
that's where I could see this being big. It's funny if we had Philip showing his screen, it's actually him ordering Pokemon cards right now to see like, like all right,
no, Gundam cards.
Not yet. No, you're gonna want to wait. You're gonna want to wait till like September before you buy that stuff because that stuff's gonna be like. You thought Lorcana was getting marked up a bunch. That those Gundam cards are gonna be crazy. All right. If you scream until your face changes color, did you turn yellow? So the Las Vegas Open, it's not the final article is not 40K, by the way. See, I don't always make the last article 40K. But the LVO happened, Las Vegas Open. It's like the first big miniatures event of the year. It's a big tournament. Think Nova Open, but over in LA or in Vegas. But it's like the first chance we get for some news from Games Workshop, and they released showed a bunch of information on the new Emperor's Children army. Now I got to explain this because if you don't know anything about Warhammer, none of this is going to make sense because these guys are chaos as fuck. But
They are.
But you're like, they're called the Emperor's Children though. So this was they decided not.
Aren't we all the Emperor's children?
Well, so funnily enough, if you look at any of the Horus Heresy so you've seen most people have seen a Space Marine, right? And they got the nice the double-headed eagle across the chest. That wasn't always the case. So if you look at any of the Horus Heresy minis, they don't have that on them. In fact, it was the Third Legion, the Emperor's Children. They were considered the only ones honored enough to wear the Aquila on their chests. So they started the whole thing. And just for various reasons. But they were all about perfection. They had to be like the perfect in everything. Basically, they got tainted by Slanesh, who's the god of excess and passion, and they became like Chaos Marines, and we could spend I could do a whole podcast, at least one episode, just talking.
Some of these are cone heads.
Yeah. So, but basically, they're the Emperor's Children are the people that are. It's like people that don't have any impulse control. You know, these are the ones that are ordering the Pokemon cards on Uber Eats. But you also hear, if you ever heard somebody talk about noise marines, those are usually Emperor's Children as well, because one of the things that they ended up doing in the search for perfection is like, well, these other, these Xenos that we kill because they're not like us, they have cool things, and we could take those and make them ourselves. And they got like a bunch of like screech organs and stuff. So that's where you see. But I just look because we had a year where a lot of the 40K memes were looking kind of dull. Especially there's videos talking about this where there's not a lot of like good 40K minis that came out last year. There was a lot of just, oh, here's your generic Space Marine. But then you get into some of these bad boys, and let me scroll down. Like you got Lucius the Eternal here. I'm pretty sure that's him. Yeah, Lucius the Eternal, which is yeah, there we go. I was just making sure. Yeah, they call him Lucius the Eternal because like so he's like supposed to be like the best swordsman or whatever, and he's wearing a special armor that won't let him die. And in fact, when there's a great animation on Warhammer Plus that shows this, where if someone kills him, then he takes over their body and regenerates as him in that so like he can never die. Is like when you kill him, you then become him. Or he takes over your body and then becomes you.
Part of the crew, part of the ship. Part of the crew, part of the ship.
Yeah. Then there's these. Here's your noise marines I was talking about. Like, these guys are so dope. 30K Imperial Guard have Aquillas? Probably. I was talking specifically the Space Marines, but I don't know enough about the Solar Auxilica. But yeah, like I don't need another army, but I kind of want some of these just to like paint. Like these guys look dope.
These are some sweet character models. I'm looking at the Lord Cacophonus.
Yeah. Then there was when I was bringing what's his face down here. This was the one I was wanting to really show. This guy. Philip, have you ever seen Space King?
I don't think so.
Oh man, this joke's gonna land, or this reference is gonna land on the fly. I need to show you Space King because oh my God, that mask is just Space King right there.
I can see it from the preview of the YouTube video.
Okay, yeah, like, which by the way, if you ever want like a hilarious take on 40K, you should watch that. That series is great. So do you remember we used to have you remember when we had the gif of the Black Templar flipping the table and roasting it on fire?
Mm-hmm.
That's the Black Templars versus furries. That guy made his own series called Space King. That's like a ripoff of 40K. And in fact, apparently right now Netflix or some site tried to buy the rights, and he was like, "Screw you," and is like, for every purchase of one of these T-shirts, we're gonna send one to them saying "Screw you."
Oh wow!
Yeah. But yeah, like
armor-piercing sonic flamethrower.
Heck yeah. Yeah, like I may have to. This might be the dude. I may have to get him and just like paint him up. I don't know what for.
See, when I saw Noise Marines,
mm-hmm.
all I could think of was Mad Max Fury Road.
Yep. Well, actually, you say that, but so hold on, we gotta do this real quick. All right, I'm gonna go. So not everybody watching me type.
All I could think of is them riding into battle, and that one. Yes.
Which is funny because there's there's like one of the Sisters of Battle has like it's like a rhino with an organ on top. Hold on, I gotta find. So Philip, would you say you thought of something like this? This is the previous model of Noise Marine. By the way,
that's amazing.
the guitar is the bolter.
It's a bolter.
All right, I may have just sold myself on having to play Emperor's Children as an army. Maybe it's like a 5. I've been doing these like 500-point games. I might have to do it. I might have to do it in that sense. Not the full 2K army, but
So who are okay. So so the character model is before the title?
I think so.
Okay, so those are Torment. Okay, so those are Noise Marines right there. Yeah, those look like those are sonic weapons.
Yep.
Okay, flawless blades. See, that makes sense because they have the swords.
Yep. They got the Thords. Yeah, here's your. I'm pretty sure these are the Noise Marines. Yeah.
Yes.
Those guns remind me of something. I can't remember what it. I don't know what. But they remind me of something. I want to say some evil. I want to say it's like a Power Rangers thing.
Yeah, I mean they're all
Like one of the ships or something.
They're all faces. Yeah.
Yeah. This one's got like a tear or something in it. Oh no, that's just a divot.
No.
Sorry. Cat fight.
Wow.
Oh man. Just what I need is to spend more money on minis. All right. After this next game and after this next joke, this Stonewire series will be finished. Wingspan's getting another sequel, and it's all about fish. Finspan coming to a store near you. I honestly thought this was a April Fool's joke.
Super early April Fool's joke.
I really thought this was an April Fool's joke. So, announced last Wednesday that Wingspan is getting a new sequel. It's called Finspan, and instead of focusing on birds, the new game will be inspired by fish and ocean ecology. Finspan will be released on January 22nd, so
Oh, sweet.
2 days
So
from now.
on Wednesday.
Yeah. Be a competitive, card-driven engine-building game for up to 5 players and contain a robust solo mode created by Automata Factory, who does all their solo modes. But, yeah. Elizabeth Hargrave, the original designer, did not feel like she had the bandwidth to do fish justice, but assisted with the development of Finspan. It was created by, David Gordon and Michael O'Connell worked as designers on the game, with illustrations from Wingspan illustrator Ana Maria Martinez, Catalina Martinez, and Messa Schumacher. I'm assuming, I hope I did those right. Sorry.
Hang on. Did I know about this?
What?
We talked about this, didn't we?
What?
Wormspan?
Wormspan, yeah.
Okay.
I actually played it a couple weeks ago. And she's like, this game is
Oh,
great. I'm going to go get my stuff. So, the game contains 125 fish cards featuring naturalist illusions or illustrations and little factoids on the critters. That was always fun. They had like the info of the birds and stuff on there. And in fact, the Wingspan app, when you would like click on a card, it would make the sound that the bird makes.
Oh.
Yeah. So that part was always really cool for me. Player wins by gaining the most points from accumulating fish eggs, young, schools, and achievements. So if you're interested, you can already see how close it is to Wingspan because Stonemaier Games has already published the rulebook online for you to look at. And they did mention this is going to be like the last in the Wingspan trilogy here. It's just really funny because so there's a board gaming subreddit called, all right, if you got kids in the car, cover their ears, but it's called Board Gaming Circle Jerk. and it does, and so it's so funny because they've been doing span jokes for like the past week, and it's great.
Wow.
Where they'll put other things on the box, and it's just like, and then somebody took the box and put it on top of the box again, so it's just span.
Span.
Like I may have to pull up some of the. I'll pull up those in the bonus bits. That'll be good.
There we go. Wingspan span.
Wingspan span. But yeah, so that's like I think I saw it first on that, which is why I thought it was a joke. But all right, them's the news. So Philip, we haven't talked
Nope.
about our Patreon in a while.
We
So
have not talked
we
about
just
our
want to say
Patreon in a while,
thanks to
so-
everyone that's continued to support us on Patreon. We love all y'all. We like seeing y'all in. Wish more of you. I know it's not always the best time for everybody. We'll jump in on the bonus bits because we've been doing them live now. If you've not been listening,
We're live.
there's a special section in the Discord. In fact, if you're not a patron, you don't even know it's there. You can't see it. It's not visible to you at all, or it shouldn't be.
It's purple.
So if you're a patron, you get access to that, and you only have to be a patron for $1, $12 a year. In fact, since I think they made me switch over to subscription billing, I may end up making that cheaper, where it's like $10 for the year, and you just pay,
Yeah.
pay all-
Do the whole year and
like
get
the whole year.
get a discount.
Yeah. But yeah, and then we do the bonus bits live on the Discord, the little stage stuff they've got there. I know I've been trying. I was talking about doing like a zine, but then I tried doing some layouting, and that crap is hard.
Yeah.
There's a reason you pay good money to a good layout person. Because I was just trying to do simple text stuff, and it was still hard. Like I wasn't even getting in with the fancy graphics and everything. So I think I'm just going to because I still want to do that type of stuff, especially for patrons. So just take those ideas and just do more of the raw text as like blog posts on Discord or on Patreon. Instead of just like what I was gonna do like once every other month or so. So same stuff, just moving stuff around. But you're not gonna get any of that if you don't go to patreon.com/boardsandSwords. So and with that, we've got first of all I'm gonna go here. With that, we've got an interview now with Bostria I'm about to play. And I will just go ahead and mention it because someone's gonna make note. First of all, we got everything worked out so I can play it here during the show instead of like clipping it in later. Secondly, if you watch the video specific or detailed enough, you'll notice I keep moving the windows around. I was fidgeting a lot during this during this interview, and I kept noticing the window was not exactly perfect. Like it kept showing like my camera in the very like side bottom corner, and so you'll see it get like adjusted randomly. And so I'm sorry. It eventually gets fixed, and then I managed to click something that made the whole screen like shift. So then I had to adjust it again. Sorry, but
Chris over here touch things.
yeah. So with that, we'll be on the backside to wrap things up, close them out. But here it is, my interview with Bostria from Corvus Belli talking about Infinity, the wargame.
Well, Infinity we also have Warcraft now. We have a sci-fi game and a fantasy game.
Yep.
Which is like the everybody does that, right?
Yeah.
Fantasy, sci-fi.
Yep. Pretty much.
We should make a steampunk game, you know. I'm trying to find a new gold mine to exploit.
Right.
Because of course we get into this miniature wargaming business because of the money, because it's super profitable, everything, you know.
Oh yeah, obviously.
I'm here for the money, nothing else.
My favorite joke I say over and over again is how do you create a small fortune in tabletop gaming? You start with a large fortune.
That's a good one. First million is the hardest to make. So you focus on the second million. Sorry, where are you based? USA? Which state?
Maryland. So I'm right near Washington, D.C.
Must be beautiful.
Not.
I enjoy the Midwest.
Right now it's kind of crummy. We got this big cold wave going on, like just a bunch of snow that's just dropped and melting, but won't completely leave.
I enjoy a lot going to the USA, and I truly mean this. I enjoy a lot the USA, and I'm blessed to visit twice or 3 times a year. I haven't been to the West Coast yet. This is going to change 2025. Maybe I go to the San Diego Comic Con this year. But, everybody goes to visit New York, and then they think that they have seen America, But I've been to Kentucky, I've been to Indianapolis, I've been to Albuquerque, Texas. So I've been to Denver, Colorado, yep. So I can, to my friends, I can speak. Sorry, you have not been in the USA. I have been in the real America. I'm sorry, but
you've been to a lot of places I haven't, so.
Yeah. I can defend Trump in front of my friends. Like,
right.
You don't know what you're talking about, because you have not been there, really.
That's funny. I always like talking to people outside the U.S. about gaming because you just get different perspectives. I just get to be like, what is it like where you are, kind of. Because it is different. Like we were just our last show was with Loot Studios, who's down in Brazil, and they were just talking to gaming's not super popular there because they're like, we'll just go outside to the beach. Like, yeah, I didn't think about that.
Well, what I've seen comparing European communities with American communities, Americans seem so proactive, okay? And everybody together building an event, everybody bringing terrain, everybody collaborating. It seems that the American mindset is very proactive, very let's get this done, and very disciplined. I don't know if that's some kind of military mentality or something. Very, very well organized. I've seen in European events organized by two guys doing all the work. And the rest of the people just complaining or very passive.
I'm just speculating, but I wonder if it's because in Europe it's a lot more condensed, where you can have a lot of people in a small area, whereas here all the gamers are kind of spread out. So like you have to have somebody that's like, I'm having an event here so that everyone can drive and. It's much more of an ordeal to get people together.
Well, we cannot be simplistic, okay?
Right.
It's more about the quality of the people than the culture and everything. But what I've seen is, or at least the people that I met, that I know, that in the USA practices wargaming, enjoys the hobby wargaming, well, they usually have a room for their hobbies at home, for example. And when they go to an event, they go and they cover a lot of distance to go to the event, and they get in a Holiday Inn or whatever hotel is there and pass the night over there and plays the event and goes back to home. So that involves more time, more. That involves money also. You have to. The people that I met, they have a basement for their hobby.
Yeah.
Incredible to see, oh my God, and look at that car, oh my God, and they're spending the whole weekend for this event, which involves, a hotel and stuff like that. In Spain, it's more, no, they get in the subway and get to downtown, the store in Madrid or Barcelona, have the event, then go back home, or maybe 3 or 4 get in a shitty European car and go in the day, from their town to the other town. So revenue or life quality is also there. I can tell that the American customer, American retailer, if they like the game, they buy everything. Spain, they buy, they think a lot about what they're buying. They even if they are very, very attracted by a product, I'm not buying this box because I don't like that specific miniature.
Oh, wow.
Oh shit! And they keep talking to you about why they have not bought Operation whatever box because they thought and they thought and they thought, and it's like shut up. You know? And America's customer, I like this game. Give me the base, the core box, and 2 expansions, 3 expansions. What else do I need?
Yeah.
Everything. So the behavior is a lot different, but has to be with income, has to be with, I don't know, many things.
Yeah, it was when speaking. You were talking about Warcrow. Um, it was very tempting with like I had trying to stay within the Gen Con budget I had, but the polar bear exclusive mini for Warcrow, I'm just like that figure looks so cool.
Yeah. And well, it was the last Gen Con was the arrival finally
Right.
of the Warcraft wargame with the battle box, with the it was everything was there. So it was the moment because the game is new, it's a fresh start. So you are not jumping into a game that has a veteran community, hardcore playing community that is going to demolish you. Everybody will be on the same page, will learning the rules and playing their games and experiencing the game. And that is something that is, I don't know, I think we all have memories of that game. And when we began playing that game, and it was fresh new, and we were realizing about the combos and the shenanigans and which unit is powerful and why, and everybody was like unaware of the tricks, and you were like, sometimes it happens to you with X-Wing, with Kill Team, with whatever, and it's exciting days, yeah. I remember spending hours with a friend when Infinity was beginning, and me and my friend were talking about, oh my gosh, this guy is really good. If you play 200 points, because in a tournament, this guy, yeah, and hours and hours. And our girlfriend's like totally annoyed, like, what are you talking about?
Have you been? You were talking about Infinity back. I'm assuming you started as a player, and then eventually moved on to develop. Just
No, I was collaborating with the company before the game launch,
oh, okay.
and I play tested the game in the very. If we are now in M5, I played M0, you know, before the first edition of the game. And yeah, they needed a Photoshop guy, and I was around. Okay, because you have to think that Corvus Belli is the smallest company you can think of, and it wasn't even. It's in Spain, but it wasn't not Madrid or Barcelona. It was in Pontevedra, the hairy armpit of Spain. You know, so yeah, the smallest garage company you can think of. That was Corvus Belli, and today we are a medium-sized company. I won't say big, but well, we're doing fine. There's a TV series coming, so we're doing fine.
Do you know much about kind of what spawned the initial uh, start of Infinity?
Yes, the founders of the company, my friends here, they were playing an RPG game. The name is Mutants in the Shadow, the Mutantes en la Sombra. Everything is Spanish here, of course. They were playing an RPG game, and they enjoy a lot their characters and their own sci-fi setting. Okay, and they were mixing crazy ideas, and they were having having it. They were having fun as crazy. So at some point, when totally separated to that, they made a miniature company, and they made historical figures, and then they also began to make fantasy figures, the first Warcraft, okay? Because Warcraft, before the Warcraft that we have nowadays, there was a line of miniatures that they created named Warcraft. And at some point they decided to make a sci-fi game because they felt themselves as artists and as a company role mature enough to try to make a product, a company seriously, like big launching. And they say, okay, let's base this RPG, this war game in our RPG stories, in our kind of world that we all together imagined when we were playing role-playing games. So they sat down and they chose Gutiérrez Busquiños, who is the showrunner here. Is a very cultivated and educated gentleman that has a history degree and everything. And they pitched all the ideas to him, and he brought everything down. And then from that incredible big bang of ideas and RPG games, he had to write it down. But this guy was already very skilled back in the day. I mean, something that I'm impressed is how everybody improved their skills during the years of the company. But Gutiérrez Busquiños was already very intelligent and very educated and had a lot of reading background and knew a lot about history. So he was able to pull it off the fluff and the world of Infinity since the first version, since the first Infinity book. The world was there. And everything that he has been doing during all these years is adding more layers and more depth to it. But the original, he never had to recon anything, going back and change because now it doesn't fit. No, he never had to recon anything. The original first Infinity book was...
It laid a good foundation.
Yeah. He said that the most difficult thing was the alien fluff, because everything, all the human fluff is based on history. It's like history repeats itself.
Yeah.
So because he knows a lot about history, and you realize that reading the books, you will notice that everything is very based on historical events, and kind of they repeat themselves in the future. So when he has to write about aliens, it's more difficult to him because he cannot grasp history.
Right. So for those that aren't familiar, I mean that includes myself, with Infinity, what's the pitch for someone that, let's assume that someone that's played war games before, so is familiar with miniatures and stuff. What makes Infinity different from all the other different games that are out there?
Okay, right now, Infinity is the most simulationistic, hardcore wargaming, cyberpunk, sci-fi experience you can have. It's the richest amount of options when building your army. Okay, we have a free application that you can download or use it online in order to build your army. And even if you and your friend choose the same army and the same sectoral army, you can go to a tournament with absolutely different flavors inside your army, because the tree and all the branches of the tree that covers all the unit profiles in Infinity is immense, huge, because you have many unit profiles and many loadouts for those unit profiles, many interactions between units in your army, and many playing styles. So it's huge. It's like you can jump into Infinity and it's an ocean of information, unit profiles, miniatures. It's impossible to not find something that really itches your wargaming bone. Apart from that, the ARO system, the rule system of Infinity, really makes it very interactive. Both players will be always engaged in action because everything, player A makes an action, player B has a reaction to it. So it's a constant back and forth. So that goes against games where whenever it's the other guy's turn, you just wait for him to finish and demolish your units. You're here constantly engaged. And with time, we have realized that having both players constantly engaged creates a wargaming etiquette. Okay, both have to behave, because if they become to behave nasty, the other guy can also behave nasty, and really discuss every single cover, every single inch of distance, every single. So, when players are in the same page, in the same action constantly, they have to behave themselves. has also become very competitive. Like we have a competitive scene with very active tournament scene. So people go to tournaments and they really care about what they're going with, and they will really care about all the optimal and suboptimal options in the game. The quality of the miniatures is one of the best features of the company since the beginning. Most of the miniatures are metal because we cast the best metal figures in the market and with plenty of detail. It's true scale. And we also have plastic miniatures, and we are improving very much the plastic nowadays. There was a miniature last year, the Tic Balang, that was released at Gen Con. Everybody got in love with the production quality of that model, and everybody is like encouraging to upgrade our standards to that plastic with every single figure of the game. So, kind of on the road to achieve that right now. And what else? There are many other products apart from the wargame that is happening now that are coming. There's a TV series that has the trailer online already, and it's a bright future for the company because we are really like going up
Yeah.
right now.
Yeah, that's right. One of the locals had mentioned about it's an anime, if I remember right, for the TV show.
Well, it's not totally anime. It's looks a bit more like Arcane, the League of Legends TV show.
Okay.
That 3D painted texture 3D thing.
Does that have a
So,
an app it's going to yet, or is all that still in the works?
it's in the works.
Okay.
There's a pilot episode, a trailer, and is probably there will be a new trailer this year at Comic Con San Diego.
Nice.
Another one. We'll see.
Well, you were talking about the transition from metal to plastic, and I was curious. Did the new, because you're also doing we just launched N5, the new version
Yes.
of Infinity. Is that more of a coincidence that those were kind of lining up around the same time as you or did one inform the other?
You mean production quality and the new edition?
Yeah, like, are we going to use this edition as a
No,
chance to
no.
come out with new figures?
No. The thing is that regarding quality production, well, 2025 is the year that Corvus Belli is going to launch to the market regular releases and also limited releases of plastic resin models more than ever, which is the kind of material that the Tic Balang from last year was made in, and everybody had a very positive response to that plastic. But we are still making metal miniatures for Infinity. The human figures are metal. The bigger ones are thermoplastic, and the big ones and the remotes are plastic resin. And we're moving towards that, yeah. For example, Warcraft everything is in thermoplastic.
Got it.
But Warcraft during this year, we have the bigger ones figures that will come, which are amazing, will be also in plastic resin. So everybody is going to. During 2025, there will be a couple, 3-4 moments where people will open the box and will say, "Wow," because we are very happy with the results that we're getting, both in 3D sculpture and in production quality. So, yeah.
So
going up.
So then when you sit down, like, okay, cool, we're going to launch a new version of Infinity. How does that even, how do you even start that when you're like, okay, we're going to take a look at the rules and make some changes? Like, as someone not familiar enough with game design, I don't even know how you would start with that and kind of figure out, okay, like what is working, what isn't working, kind of thing.
Well, I'm not a rules developer. I just know them. I know the process before getting into the actual task, okay? Because before even making technical decisions about rules, there are big meetings about, okay, M5, how are we going to approach this? like because I've been in previous editions meetings, and it's like all our rules, game. But the more we grow up as a company and the more we mature as people involved in the process, the more you realize that the big decisions are the ones that count the most. And the big decisions is, shall we make this game really approachable for newcomers, or shall we advance in a sophisticated way for the rules to go deeper into the tiny shenanigans that we know that will count for the tournament player, Different approaches. For example, the previous edition, M4 had something called Code 1 that was like the basic form of the game for newcomers, that has its own rulebook and it has its own line of figures. Finally, that game, as a game on its own, didn't got critical mass of players, but the products were very successful because it was also a comfortable approach for retailers and distributors, to approach the range of miniatures. For M5, we decided not to make Code 1 or Code 2 or whatever, like go on the full final form of the game, but also make a line of products, beginner-friendly products, and made a line of videos to help people learn the game with. So those big decisions are very meaningful in the final outcome of the economic effort of making a new edition of the game. Beginner-friendly or hardcore. You have to decide. But you have to decide which vehicles you enable to benefit both sides of that equation. Okay? Then we even consider quickly in a conversation where all ideas are accepted. Okay, shall we change the rules of Infinity? Shall we make a blank slate or something and change the dice and change everything and put it into cards or something? And we say, no, that seems like other game, like another kind of project. Let's focus on the game that we already have because it has a very solid fan base and a solid tournament scene. And let's try to make it affordable, to make it, to clean the rules a little bit. And then, what everybody wanted, the people who already were into Infinity, profiles, unit profiles, update all the armies with all the profiles, which is an ocean of profiles.
Oh, I can imagine.
It's incredible. So we got rid of a few armies because it was impossible to keep them all together from a business perspective even. Let's clean a little bit, let's balance a little more the generic vanilla armies with the sectorial armies. This is a concept that I might have to get to introduce. We have like 9-10 factions, but inside every faction there is at least 3 armies. We call those armies inside the faction sectorials, but you can always play with the faction itself, and that was the vanilla faction.
Gotcha.
There were rules that made them different. We decided to make them more similar this time because there were rules just for the sectorials and rules just for the vanilla, and they were like beginning to be so different. And it was impossible to have all the miniatures and all the SKUs for playing vanilla, so we have to make a list for the generic faction and allow those generic factions to also have fire teams, which is something that was sectorial exclusive back in the day. But the new edition is an opportunity to put some order and structure into the whole ocean of options that you have.
Yeah, I can imagine just when you've got that many combinations of characters and units and whatever, just from years and years of just publishing stuff, that eventually you have to kind of like, okay, we need to tighten some things up and move things around and make everything a little bit more coherent.
Yeah, it's like Magic the Gathering.
Yeah.
Magic the Gathering has to create standard, historic, whatever formats because they cannot get track of all the cards that they are constantly releasing. happens with Infinity also. Too many miniatures and shenanigans and combos happening there and there and there and there.
Now, how often, like, so, I know I'm used to the complete opposite end with Games Workshop, where when you have like the app and it's like, okay, every 6 months we're gonna change everything. Do you ever have that happen inside an Infinity Edition where it's like, oh, we need to tweak this ability or this stat? Is there that many kind of like tweaks or rule changes within an edition, or do you just kind of like table it for when
We had we during we had moments. I'm not so familiar with 40k changing mega rules and changing everything. We have very dramatic vocal players
Yeah,
that for them any tiny change is, oh my god,
you're right.
it changes everything. Whenever we touch the fire team's rule, which is a very big kind of section of the rules that affects the squads in a certain way, and explain to you the people who don't play Infinity usually. When we touch the fire teams, everybody gets crazy. And also, sometimes the fluff delivers a change to a certain sectoral army, and people get crazy with it. For example, we had something called the Uprising. That was when the Japanese split out of Yuchin back in the day, and that was big. We also have the Bakunin new box and the Observancy taking over Bakunin. Those are just fluff strokes, sometimes narrative stuff that affects armies, and it's always fun. And kicks the fan base a little bit in order to create excitement. But
Keeps things from getting stale.
Avoiding stagnation.
Yeah.
In a certain way.
I imagine it's kind of a benefit, and I know people might love to sit at their keyboards and complain, but at the same time, you almost like that people get passionate about these changes because it shows that they're like invested in the game and in their faction.
Yeah, especially during the announcement stage, I noticed that when we are coming with something and we are dropping hints of information, and everybody was discussing it and creates its own bubble, and it's exciting and it's fun, and see people are also enjoying it a lot. The message boards, the chat rooms, the social media where people are engaging in those conversations are also enjoying the hype train in a certain way.
Right. Now I know one of it's one of the key differences I've seen with Infinity as opposed to other games is the use a lot more usage of like cardboard terrain, and I think y'all make it officially in house, the kind of punchboard-esque terrain that kind of assembles together, like interlocks with each other, and
yeah, well, that's the one that comes in our operation boxes. Whenever we deliver a 2-player starter set, usually has that cardboard terrain inside, and we also sell that separately, because it's the affordable option for filling a table full of terrain.
Exactly.
Many people have tons of those, but we have other partner companies who make beautiful terrain. The American one is Warsenal, that makes the best terrain in the market. I mean, the color print series that has now with the G1 buildings, I have those at home. My children play with those because it's incredibly detailed, and it's perfect for playing Infinity. But that is more pricey. It's pricey. So when you have to fill 8 tables for a tournament, and you need like 5 or 8 tables of terrain, all solutions are welcome. In fact, back in the day, I made my cubes. I came out with a system of cardboard cubes that fit one into another, and at the end, that was developed. Become a product on its own, because it was useful and easy to store,
Gotcha.
But every community and every guy with a laser MDF cutter ends up having a moment of making infinity terrain, you know.
Yeah, it's just like I said, it's like the one way you can kind of tell from a distance, what game somebody's playing. Because if you see someone playing like 40K or like Age of Sigmar, the terrain's kind of sparse everywhere because it's usually like a lot more expensive. But like you look at an infinity board and it's dense. Like there is terrain and there is like stuff everywhere.
Yeah, Americans like to play with very dense tables. In Europe, there are less density, but I've seen American tables that were like a jungle of terrain.
Yeah.
Impressive.
I always like it because it makes it feel more real. Like how many, in the sci-fi future, we don't have like a whole bunch of, just large fields to just have these like huge battles in. It's going to be these like urban city sprawls.
I like when the whole table has coherency in the same kind of buildings or the same kind of color scheme for the whole table.
Right.
The same setting, like the swamp table. There is a swamp table that goes in the tournaments in the USA that I love it, with wooden cabins, halfly in the water, and wooden cardbox. That's beautiful. Then I see jungle tables, but when the whole table, instead of being a clusterfuck of different buildings or different colors, different companies, when the whole table is coherent, I love it. I love it. And I probably am one of those guys who likes terrain more than the miniatures even. When it's very cinematic and very monochrome, when you stick to the same three colors and the whole table is like in the same, and then the miniatures
they pop
highlight because they pop out because they are colorful, and the setting is very grayish or very green or something. It's in the same tone. I love it. That's when you get the camera, you get your phone, and you begin to make cinematic photos, cinematic travelings with it. I love that.
So I'm just checking my notes for a couple of the questions that I got asked, but one person asked about the slew of new deployables that are in N5, especially the turrets. How did that come about?
Well, as far as I know, they wanted to give engineers extra. They wanted. In the ITS scene, Juan Lois, which is the ITS coordinator, knows for a fact, and for the metrics that we have, which miniatures are not seeing table, as we say.
Gotcha.
Which miniatures are not being used, which miniatures are suboptimal in a certain way, which miniatures are falling behind in regard of tactical options, tactical use that super tournament competitive players want to use. So paratroopers in the previous edition were totally not getting used. Okay, despite paratroopers are a very effective unit, but camouflage troopers were better. So they gave super jump now to most of the paratroopers, for example, to make them more useful. Engineers were not getting that use, so now they have new deployables and they can deploy turrets. That's the new thing. Now people, because we are at the beginning of the new edition, they have seen this new tactical tool and they're exploiting it to the maximum, okay? And people are putting turrets and turrets and turrets, trying to let's push this, let's exploit this to the maximum, let's see what happens. And they are extracting their conclusions, okay? But we still have to see if that is tournament ready, tournament useful, tournament effective, winning battles.
Yeah.
We don't know. Because if you tell me that two guys in a battle that made in their house, they began to put turrets and turrets and turrets like crazy, and the game stopped being fun for them. Okay, but that was an experiment.
Yep.
I still have to see a top player coming with a tactic into a tournament, into a big tournament, and winning with it. I still have to see the Polish guys and the Spanish guys and the American guys and the Chinese guys, everybody saying the same thing. And if that happens, say the meta suddenly is intoxicated by this.
Yeah.
It will pop out in many different signals, and then maybe the developers have to react to that. But right now, everybody is jumping to their first conclusions, playing the game. And some conclusions are legit. If some guys are super hardcore players and they play every week, we will have to pay attention to what they say. But right now, people are mixing Mentos and Coca-Cola and writing down that the world is going to explode or something,
So, one of the things I do know is that there's a season for Infinity play. If I've heard right from people.
Yeah, ITS season, yes, correct.
So when does that start? Because I know N5 just dropped. Like we're only about a month away from when it dropped. So how many tournaments have you had so far for N5?
Very recent tournaments, very recent events. In fact, the N5 took more than we expected to in order to publish the PDF file, because we are going with full digital rulebook right now, and it took more than we expected. So people are during Christmas they have their first battles, and we're having first tournaments like these weeks. Okay.
Gotcha.
So we're far away from having a decent background of tournaments with N5 already reported. What I know is that for the first half of the year, the current season is going to end on July. Okay. And in August, the next season will begin. I think it's current season 16, and the next one will be 17, I guess. The thing is that we're aiming at having a very big event in Spain that is going to be the Interplanetary Tournament happening in mid-July, and that will be the end of the current season. So the final big tournament will be in Interplanetary. That will probably decide who is the winner of the whole season, stuff like that. We will have many tournaments during the year. There's going to be, now in January, there's going to be a big one in Australia. Then Colder Than Carbonite happening in Canada. Furor Teutonicus happening in Germany. Those are in February. There will be one in Tel Aviv, one in Mexico also in March. And finishing the season in July in Spain. And then in August, the 23rd and 24th of August in Denver, Colorado, the new season will kick off with a new satellite tournament that is going to be the Crack in Denver, Colorado, which is going to be a big one. It's going to be important for us because Corvus Belli is investing a lot on having a proper American tournament every year in the USA, and it's going to be in Colorado. And
so you mentioned that was a satellite tournament, and that was one of the things somebody mentioned here. What is a satellite tournament as opposed to?
Yeah, sorry. Certain tournaments, when they get more than enough players and they are based, and they receive like this title of the satellite tournament, this privilege. So privileged. They are so important. Well, whoever wins that tournament, classifies into a tournament, will get a spot on the final tournament in Spain. So, for some reason, everybody sees that as a seed of quality,
Gotcha.
and gets crazy. And everybody wants the tournament to be chosen as a satellite tournament, because if you win at that tournament, then you will have a spot on the final super tournament. It's something like that. And
it's almost like a pro
usually the
circuit.
satellite tournament usually gather more players and get bigger prizes, and they become big.
Gotcha. So yeah, you'll be leading off the new season you said in August with one of those satellite tournaments.
Yeah, the first satellite tournament, the first tournament of the new season, will happen in August in the USA, and that will have a special box. Because every season has a tournament box that has a special winner figure, and the new one will begin on August on Colorado.
Yeah, so
we're very excited about that.
That's something very curious. I just found out about this last Saturday. I was helping a Warhammer tournament, and there's people behind me playing Infinity, and they were talking about the tournaments and such, and it was something I wasn't aware of. Is that, unlike other tournaments where it's like, oh well, here's cash money to if you win, or here's like credit to our web store or whatever. Whereas Infinity tournaments come with like product, and for some it sounded like it's you can only get like say these figures if you go to a tournament, and then there's at least there was the way it was described was there's like a prize table, and it's just like first place gets first pick of whatever's on the prize table, and then actually the way the guy was talking about last place gets second pick of whatever's on the prize table.
That's not. I mean, we actually provide the winner pack. Okay, the ITS box with products, and some of those are exclusive to the tournaments and winners. But from that on, it's up to the tournament organizers to how they organize themselves regarding the table of prizes and stuff like that. I've seen that being done in the last crack and in the planetarium, and many sponsors also provide more products and stuff like that. So, but we are not responsible of how the organizers decide to approach the prize moment. Okay, we just provide the stuff.
But I do find in general though that when tournaments are less monetary based and more like product or promos or stuff like that, it creates a whole different atmosphere within the tournament, because everyone's not like, I need to stab you, I need to stab my way to the top of like it creates a more friendly competitive environment where everyone's not trying to like do whatever it takes to win. Like let me cheat just to get these, like, there's not like a whole bunch of
games are complex systems that can stand a certain amount of pressure. If you put money on the price, people will pressure it, will break the game. I mean, Infinity is very well balanced and very well rounded and very well written. But let's put $1 million for the guy who wins the tournament. What you will end up having? A community of players going for the ultimate destruction of the game. And right now, I cannot think of a game that can stand that kind of pressure. You're telling me that in the USA they put money in the price? That's crazy. I mean, no game will stand that amount of pressure. People will find ways to exploit rules and destroy the game. Absolutely. No game developer is smarter than a community of 10,000 people thinking about how to win.
Right. In fact, I think that's got to be rough on the development side of like coming up with a new thing and then having to think, how can this be broken, because somebody will figure that out.
Yeah. I mean, I can think of chess.
Yeah.
And even in chess, they found ways around the rules to exploit things and talk about the chess clock and the semi-hand for touching the figure, and they have to really regulate everything because people can be super competitive.
Gotcha. So, just to kind of finish out, what are some of the next things? So you've got the big, huge N5 release has already happened, but what's next in the pipeline that's come out?
The pipeline for 2025 is written down here. Okay, so 5 dates to remember during 2025. Okay, first of all, Adepticon happening in Milwaukee in the USA this year. Adepticon this year for Corvus Belli is the biggest event, I will say, because for some reason we got crazy, and because we have 2 games, we have Infinity and we have Warcraft. We are arriving at Adepticon with not just 1 super bundle, but with 2. So, Adepticon 2025 for Infinity, it will be all about Imperial Service. There will be a new action pack for Imperial Service with 10 miniatures, okay? And apart from that, there will be another box with another unit. And if you buy them both, then you will get another miniature for free. that is the special limited edition release of the Serpent, miniature.
Nice.
So that will be the bundle for Imperial Service at Adepticon 2025. Action pack plus extra unit, then you get a super HBT for free. Okay. If someone watching this interview knows about Infinity, they will get very excited right now. And apart from that, for Warcraw, and the news have just dropped today, is the arrival of the elves of Warcraw, the Sienan elves. And they will arrive with an action pack, and if you get another additional box that will be for the bundle, you also will get an additional extra super special miniature with them. So we have two bundles, that is the action pack plus another thing, then you get another one for free, So we never ever have arrived at an event with two bundles this big, this ambitious.
Right.
Okay, we're talking about 20-something miniatures for two different games. But never, we have never done so many, such ambitious bundles. Last Gen Con, we arrived with the battle pack for Warcraw and then two tags for Infinity. But this Adepticon is going to be like arriving with, two super products for both games. Also, after Adepticon, then we will have a few more satellite tournaments in Colombia, in Germany, in the USA, okay. And then in July there will be the Interplanetario, which is our big event at home. End of the season of the ITS Tournament League, okay. We will also have Warcraft events, okay. We will release exciting news during the year also, and that is the end of the season, okay. The next big momentum, okay, is going to be Gen Con and also Comic Con, which is the summer events, okay.
Yeah.
At Comic Con, expect more information about the TV series, being promoted there. At Gen Con, expect Corvus Belli to arrive with more super products. Okay, I cannot reveal them yet.
Obviously.
It's too soon. But stuff happening. After Gen Con, the Crag that I just mentioned, the Denver, Colorado event,
Yep.
that kicks off the new season for tournaments. Okay, big event for us. Okay, trying to make it big there, and being the annual event for American players that know about Infinity and stuff. And then later in the year, and we're talking about October now, Spiel Essen in Germany, which is the big convention of games in the world, in Europe especially. And we will also arrive there with super releases and stuff like that. After that, Black Friday, we usually make very attractive deals for Black Friday, and that will be happening the 2025. Okay, but for me, this year, Adepticon, this year 2025, is going to be like the biggest thing. I mean, I have photos. I have seen the miniatures already. They're done. I'm making tons of videos for them. Because this year, instead of making one promotional theme week for one Infinity bundle, no, this year I'm making two of those. One for Infinity and one for Warcraft. It's a lot of work, but it's going to be spectacular. It's going to be news, releases, information during weeks and weeks. So it's going to be a bomb, really. And I'm very excited for that.
Because this is the first Adepticon since the release of Warcraft. Am I right?
Yep. And it's in a new location also. It's in Milwaukee instead of Schaumburg. So we will see how it goes.
Nice.
But, yeah.
So if somebody's been listening to this and is interested in trying Infinity, what's the best kind of product for starting?
Oh, yeah. We have just released a Stand Here box in the Infinity M5 Essentials line, which is a very affordable box. I think it's just $40 and comes with 6 miniatures. And we have in YouTube a series of 10 videos that tells you how to play with those miniatures specifically. So it's a very, very encapsulated experience of Infinity in a very, very affordable box. And from that, you should jump to Operation Sandtrap, which is the Improper Infinity M5 Battle Pack with 2 new armies that are very powerful, really. And after that, you have Beyond Operation Sandtrap, which is an expansion of that box. And find your community, find your local community of Infinity, because once you start here and like the quality of the miniatures and stuff like that, and you jump into Operation Sandtrap, which is the way to go right now, you are there. Find your community, and they will teach you, and try to, have friendly games. Do not go to a tournament as the first experience. Have some friendly games with a guy who knows about the game. Begin to learn how your miniatures behave and how they go. Okay, enjoy them, and once you feel confident, go to a tournament, get your ass kicked. Don't worry, nobody wins at the first time, but begin to delve into this ocean of richness of options and fluff that is Infinity, which is huge. So when the TV series comes, you will know what's going on. Oh, I recognize this, recognize that.
Yeah. Lastly, what's the best avenue for keeping track of what's of the news, or when the minis are announced and released? What's the best avenue for those news and updates?
Well, we have lately our YouTube channel, because I make the videos for it, so that feed is very trustworthy. Our Facebook page, very trustworthy. Also, the Infinity Community fanbase has a very lovely Facebook page, and full of memes and interactions and stuff like that. And most of that, my opinion.
Awesome. Thank you so much for coming on the show and talking to us about Infinity.
A pleasure to be here.
It helps if you unmute the mic. All right. That was, thank you so much to Bostria for that. Before we go, I do want to mention, because we had somebody, Tactical Command, in the chat, since we don't have the banter that we have for live, he did make a couple of comments and points I wanted to point out. When talking about kind of like how you would pitch Infinity, other thing they mentioned free rolls reference, stunning, highly detailed sculpts, extremely dynamic game that manages to ride a fine line between complexity and not bogging down the game is the pitch I would use. Which a lot of that I think Bostria did mention, and then some of this other stuff talking about like community also tends to a lot towards cooperation and ends up often weeding out a significant number of bad actors. So even large tournaments are quite chill and fun, which is something I brought up when talking about that's what happens when you don't put money on the line. So, and the backlash or what has helped a lot with cutting the profiles in N5 is the game's generous proxy rules. So, and it's a core to the business model also. So your models are never really obsolete. So your backlash to cutting is significant than a game that ties unit profiles to specific models. If you cut the profile, then the model itself loses value, and that stings, which, yeah, we've definitely had that a bunch. But and then every TO might do a different in to the point, but each box has a ton of little things to the point where at almost every tournament I've been to, every single person walked away with something, which allows for significantly more casual players to show up to tournaments, which that's nice because, like, even like you said, and you go in, you get your ass completely kicked, and hey, here's some tokens or a figure or something to walk away with, and it's like, all right. I think I'd be definitely be more likely to show up to the next event, right?
Definitely.
So, all right. So that's again, thanks to Bostria for joining us. I'm gonna go ahead and start playing the music because it's been a long night.
And that's been our show. Thank you to Bostria from Corvus Belli, all the way from where was he, Chris?
Spain.
All the way from Spain. All the way from across the pond.
Yeah.
Yeah. So big thanks to him for putting up with Chris's shenanigans and having that interview. If you like what you see, you got to check us out, boardsandswords.com/live. It's got the link to the streaming channel, plus the schedule, and boardandswords.com in general. It's got links to our Patreon, where you guys got to sign up. Chris dad jokes your games.
Yep.
I mean, that right there is just, boom. That's like the selling point for hopping in the Patreon. There's the bonus bits, and there's
I don't know. I
some
think the bonus
dice
bits is the best
and
part.
like other stuff. But dad jokes for games. I mean, that's just the key part right there.
All right. Send us feedback. Let us know who we need to have on next. The list is getting a little short. In fact, I think I have just our next one. That's it. But let us know who we need to talk to. So feedback at boardsandswords.com, or you can find all the links at boardsandswords.com. Also, which is the name for us on Blue Sky, at boardsandswords.com. But send us an email. Let us know who we need to talk to next. It's also got the links like the Patreon. Check it out. Help support the show. We will not be back in 2 weeks, Philip. Why is that?
I'm getting to be an old man.
That's right. It's Philip's birthday, y'all. So we're taking the week off. We're taking the episode off. We'll be back, I guess, a month. Is that the next one? But I reached into the bag and into the vault. I don't know if you remember Calvin Wong Ziloon. We used to have him on the show.
So I didn't know that was his full name.
Yeah, he started going.
So I
started going
remember
by his
Calvin
full name.
Wong.
Yeah.
It went by the whole shebang. Okay, gotcha. Because I was like, wait a minute, is that?
Yep.
Is that that's gonna be like, it's gonna be so early in the morning for him.
Well, no, that one's going to be pre-recorded also because
That's gonna be another. Okay. Gotcha,
because
gotcha.
it's so early in the morning. But he designed the there was a Mass Effect game that came out, so he designed that game with Eric Lang, like.
Oh, that's awesome.
Dude that came on the show and like hung out with us is designing games with Eric Lang. So I know that the music already cut out, but just that's what we're gonna have in a month time. That show's gonna be awesome. Calvin's a blast. So in the meantime, remember that every gamer has a story, and everyone gets a prize for this one.
Everybody gets one.
Everybody gets one.
Tell 'em,
Everyone
Peter.
gets one. Good night,
Thanks,
everybody. Yeah.
All right,
I
good
said,
night, and we'll see people in
Yep.
the stage.
I'm gonna end the show now. Thanks everybody for joining us in the chat, and I'm gonna go get the bonus bitch stage start. Bonus bitch. Bonus